Where you going? That is a red one! You need to come out right now.
Oh, there will be carnage. Lots and lots of carnage. So much carnage that... Wait, what is it exactly that Carnage can do again? If there is anything to demonstrate the obsession with being extreme for 90s comics, it would be that they found a way to turn the dial up on Venom. The all-teeth, tongue-and-claw menace for Peter Parker has an offspring that's even crazier, even more obsessed, and even more powerful. The result is Carnage, who not only hates Spider-Man, but also hates Venom too, for good measure. In fact, the two of them often have to team up to beat Carnage. Let's look at what Tom Hardy's Venom might be up against right now. Unless you're an evil mastermind or a twisted genius, if you're going to get in the supervillain game, you're going to need to pack a powerful punch. Carnage isn't exactly a planner, as it were. He's more of a, let's see how many people I can destroy before Venom and Spider-Man have to team up and stop me again. Part of the reason it takes both of them is because Carnage is not just supervillain strong, he's crazy supervillain strong. In his normal amount of mass, which is to say roughly the size of a Cletus Cassidy plus some Carnage, could bench both Venom and Spider-Man while they were both benching their maximum. His max lift is 80 tons, which puts his weight room beyond the reach of Asgardians and just shy of the Hulk himself. But it doesn't end there. If he needs a little extra oomph, he just gets a little extra. As he increases his mass, he also increases his lift. While the whole point of a symbiote is that they're always along for the ride, but heavy lifting is only on the table when Carnage has the wheel. Cassidy doesn't get any of that in his normal form, thank goodness. It all started when Peter Parker was having a wardrobe malfunction on a distant planet and bought off the rack at the gift store. Thor and the Hulk told Parker to try out this machine that would make whatever you wanted, but he put his hand in the one containing the messed up Clientarian we've come to know as Venom. Venom then left a little of himself behind that went on to bond with Cletus Cassidy, upping the ante by coming pre-insane to begin with. Since you never forget your first love, even though Carnage didn't bond with Peter, he still carries Venom's obsession, including spidery powers, naturally cranked way up. Speed is enhanced the same way another classic Spidey foe ups his mobility, spinely appendages. Using the tendrils that extend from Carnage, he's able to reduce his time for the 100 meter and longer. Spider-Man has an additional sense that warns him of danger in a largely unspecified way. Carnage replicates that by having a 360-degree awareness of anything coming in dangerous contact with the symbiote. Once again, Cletus is on his own. Knowing danger is coming is one thing, being able to get out of the way in time is another. Once again, the gooey nature of Carnage helps up his agility, making him hard to hit. Not that any of that matters, because hitting Carnage is almost a total waste of time, unless you want to be next on his gruesome list. The symbiote can harden around Cassidy that allows him to take even high-caliber gunshots as well as the various forms of kinetic blasts that your average superhero might be able to muster. Even if your plan was to launch him in the air hoping the fall would do him in, or more specifically the landing, you're still out of luck. Carnage is really hard to hurt. As long as Cassidy and Carnage are one, he has an impressive level of regenerative ability. Not just cuts and bruises either. Vital organs, whole limbs. Cassidy has regrown his legs after they were removed, that's child's play. After Alice Grayson exploded his head in Axis, it grew back. For a follow-up trick to that, he grew a body back from just a head. Cassidy can't even catch a cold as long as he's bonded to Carnage or any disease, honestly. Carnage is hard to put down in any meaningful way. Subtlety is not really a thing often associated with Carnage. When he broke out of containment after Venom and Spider-Man used the power of heavy metal to stop him the first time. No, seriously, Carnage was defeated by heavy metal music, which is pretty metal if you think about it. Anyway, once he broke free, he just gathered up stray psychopaths and started eating people indiscriminately while Venom and Spidey demurred on how exactly to stop him. Regardless, Carnage has the option to go subtle should it provide him with a more gruesome or horrifying way to go about his business. Just like the original black suit that Venom was pretending to be, Carnage can go to gooey eldritch horror to regular street clothes at will, just leaving the guy with a fright of red hair and unhinged look to give him away. At one point, the original Carnage symbiote was eradicated, but a cult that had formed to follow the creator of the symbiote, Null, managed to recreate a sort of Carnage 2, who also started absorbing other symbiotes that cranked up that camouflage ability, allowing him to actually impersonate other people. These days, the various symbiotes have kind of become everyone's problem, especially with cult members worshipping Null, thinking bringing that guy back is going to result in good things happening. It will not. But Peter Parker is the patient zero for the symbiotes, taking center stage in modern times, and that stamp will always be with Carnage no matter how many other symbiotes he absorbs. Symbiotes can imitate abilities and talents of their host and also have a genetic memory that dates all the way back to Galactus, making a snack of a planet they had infested, and their attempts to be good guys before the constant corruption made them throw in the towel and break bad again. That genetic memory and mimicking ability means that Carnage has inherited all of Peter Parker's whatever a spider can abilities. Spin a web? Any size. Climb a wall? Listen, bud, he doesn't have radioactive blood, but he has the powers that came with it. To put a cherry on top of those Spidey powers, he also has the fangs and claws that are normally associated with the symbiote. Part of what keeps Peter Parker alive as Spider-Man is his spider sense, or Peter Tingle. That little sense that warns him something bad will happen. Since the two bonded, Venom wouldn't trigger Peter's Spidey sense, making him a particularly dangerous foe. Carnage has inherited that ability to skip out on Spidey's Spidey sense. Being an offspring of Venom, the Papa symbiote is generally able to detect his offspring, but Carnage has managed to manipulate that power to dampen Venom's ability to detect him. Thanks to the general goo-based nature of the symbiotes, they're able to manipulate their shape to fit their circumstances. While he can manipulate himself to look like their surroundings or something mundane as long as it's mostly red, thanks to the makeup of Carnage, he tends to favor the less subtle options like axes, spears, and other pointy stabby bits. He can even turn parts of himself into projectiles. Fortunately, those don't then go on to become an ever more powerful symbiote, but rather just turn to dust after about 30 seconds. One Carnage is really more than enough to cause all manner of, well, carnage. But that's not enough for Carnage. With enough biomass, which he gets exactly the way you'd think he does, Pac-Manning as many people as he can, Carnage can make another Carnage that he can also control. That Carnage can collect biomass as well and split into a new Carnage that he can also control. These bonus Carnages can also bond with other people. This isn't a power he was born with. Hall Industries got the big brain idea to experiment with Carnage and accidentally gave him that power. The Marvel Universe needs a serious look at the ethics of scientific experimentation. If experimenting on Carnage was a bad idea, it has nothing on using the Darkhold to crank up the power on the replacement Carnage made from Grendel. Not Matt Wagner's Grendel, the Grendel symbiote. The Darkhold upgrade cranks up Carnage's ability to absorb other symbiotes along with whatever powers they've acquired from their hosts. If he manages to be the hungriest hippo in the absorbing game, he can reach demigod status or just resurrect Null himself. Good times. There's one power that even Carnage doesn't know how far up the dial it goes, and that's telepathy. Naturally, the extent he does understand he uses in a horrible way. By tapping his victim with a tendril, already ew, he can transfer both the symbiote and his host's bloodlust, and have them lose grasp of reality. For an extra dose of terror, he can also force the memories of his Cletus Cassidy host into other people in the hopes of driving them permanently insane. If any of the other horrifying things that he's done wasn't nightmare fuel, he can personally deliver nightmares. That's thorough. Carnage really is a case study for why certain broken things you just shouldn't mess with. Attempts to study it or control it have just made it bigger and stronger. Deal with it like you do that train set you bought on a whim. Pack it away and forget about it.